Hey, it's me, MLB. Here is chapter 57 of Gains, and this one is titled Hot Water. You tried to speak, but couldn't because your nerves had wrapped around your tongue and locked it down, and it seemed like the same had happened to Kiri, because he just stood there looking at you softly, almost begging for you to understand so that he didn't have to say the words. He was about to speak when a gruff voice interrupted, and you looked to your left down the hall to see Bakugou, who had been the one who had called out. "You coming or what?" he called loudly, stalking towards you. "You leave without saying anything, and you appear again. You're gonna be late." "Oh, class," you gasped, looking from Bakugou to Kiri. We'd better go," Kiri suddenly said, and then all of a sudden you were all sprinting to the stairs to get out of Heights Alliance and over to UA as fast as humanly possible. You didn't have much time to think about the moment that had been shared between you and Kiri, because the panic at being late for Aizawa's class took over then, and you heard the bell for first class ring just as you got to the entrance of the building. "Oh crap," you gasped, sprinting to your locker to get your shoes, with Bakugou hot on your heels and Kiri now peeling off towards his locker. You squatted down quickly and grabbed for your locker door, then yanked it open, rapidly grabbing your shoes while you felt Bakugou do the same overhead. "Hey, text me if you're gonna go home, you damn yin, or I'll kill you," Bakugou snapped softly down to you as he grabbed his shoes and rapidly put them on. "I didn't realise that my leaving to go home for one night was going to upset so many people," you panted back. "First Mina, now you." You did up the last of your shoelaces and jumped up with Bakugou, finishing a second before you did, but hanging back to let you go first in your hasty dash for Class 1A. "Better than all of them, so you let me know first. You got it?" he growled as he gave chase. Yeah, you panted with a chuckle, sprinting ahead of him. As you ran, you heard Kiri coming up behind you and Bakugou, and glanced back as he caught up. Then you slowed as you got to the back door of the classroom and tried to gently pry it open, but it didn't budge. "It's not opening," you panted in a harsh whisper to Bakugou behind you. He didn't try and push you aside to try and pull the door open, but instead reached around you, his chest pushing into your back as he leaned over you a little to reach the door and pull on it. Still, it didn't budge. "I'm gonna explode it," he stated with a malicious grin, pulling at his lips. "No, don't!" you whisper screamed at him, placing a hand on his forearm to stop him. We have to go through the front door," Kiri whispered from behind you all, and you stopped and looked back at him. "No," you whispered with dread. "Aizawa's he's already in there." You all stopped, hearing Aizawa's voice droning on from inside the room. "Oh man, I guess we have no choice," you sighed, making a move towards the door at the front of the classroom as Bakugou dropped his arm to let you past. Slowly you made your walk of doom to the large doors at the front of the classroom and knocked softly before sliding it open. Aizawa mostly looked half dead, not obtrusive at all, but when he got mad, it was a completely different story. You looked up just as his head slowly turned towards you, his deep black eyes looking more like the black holes of death as his bloodshot sclera almost pulsated with the wrath of him being interrupted. "Excuse me," you whispered, barely above a whisper, as you begged your legs to carry you into the room. As you took a step in, Aizawa's eyes glowed red and his hair stood on end, his unnerving stare locking onto you and cementing you in place. Unsure if it was related to his quirk or not, you suddenly felt yourself feel very weak, and your knees started to wobble a little, so you stopped dead in your tracks. After the longest time, or what felt like it, he spoke. "You dare to walk into my classroom late, without any explanation," he said in a cold, dead voice. The kind of voice you expected to come from a thunderstorm, if a thunderstorm could speak. The kind of tone that made you almost want to drop to your knees and beg for forgiveness. Sir, I'm so very sorry. Silence! Take your seats now," he said, and it was as if your legs had heard him directly without the aid of your ears and just carried you straight there without any further instruction. The two boys behind you followed orders instantly, and in a matter of milliseconds you were all sat down in your respective seats, hands together perfectly on the desk in front of you and sitting straight like model students. Kiri was the last to enter the room and sat down meekly in front of you to listen to the rest of the lesson. You dared not move, eyes watching Aizawa as he started to speak again. "Oh man, I thought I was going to die," you sighed internally, letting your breath out slowly so that you could take another one in. No sooner had you settled a little, Kiri turned his head to speak to you. "Hey, gym with me after class today?" he whispered to you. "Kirishima!" Aizawa barked at the redhead. "You enter my classroom late. interrupt my lesson and then you talk when I'm talking. Stay back after class. Oops, you thought, feeling sorry for Kiri as he meekly nodded his head and turned slowly to be facing the front again, and then kept still in his seat. Oh, I'll tell him in the first break that, yeah, I'll train with him, if he doesn't die after school ends today. The rest of that class went well, and as you had promised yourself in first break, you let Kiri know that you were keen to train, which seemed to make him really happy. The poor guy needed something happy to happen to him today. He hadn't been having the best of luck, to be honest. End of school came, and you, Bakugo and Kiri were kept back to explain yourself to Aizawa, but you and Bakugo were let go first before your red-headed interest, but you gave him a small look of sympathy before you left, hoping he was going to be okay. Whoa, Aizawa was not happy. You commented to Bakugo as you walked together back to your lockers. He grunted, giving off his signature "don't touch me" vibes as he strode out beside you, hands shoved into his pockets. Hey, so I had some of the curry from our usual curry place when I went home yesterday, you said to Bakugo. I tried to get Mum to try it, but she didn't, unfortunately, but it was still super yummy, you added. Come with me again tomorrow then, he said as you both got to your lockers. And dress up. Dress up? You asked as you crouched to get your shoes out of your locker. Yeah, he says as he opened his locker above yours. It's a date, dumbass. You froze. That was way too obvious. A date? You asked, just to clarify as you stood up with your shoes in hand. Yeah, so don't keep me waiting, he grunted, throwing his shoes down on the ground to change them over. You're very confident in your words though, aren't you, Bakugo? You're not supposed to use words like date so lightly if you don't have romantic feelings for the other person, you stated, looking down at him as he crouched down and did his shoelaces up. Oops, sorry, that was another little cliffhanger there. Stay tuned for chapter 58 coming tomorrow. I'll see you then.